Alright guys, haven't made a video in a while. So anyway, out here sitting in the car, warming it up. Got a few hours today, so we're just gonna run to a close river. Doesn't get a very strong coho run, but there might be some steelhead around, might be some chinook that are decent. So we're gonna run up to this river for a couple hours and check it out. Alright guys, we got here at the absolute perfect time because it's actually just starting to get light enough to see my bobber, and there's no one here. So I haven't fished this river in about a month. Last time I was here, I found this little hole that had, at the time, some decent chinook in it. I actually got one of them. And then there was a little pot of steelhead in here. But that was, like I said, a month ago. So I don't know what's in here right now. Probably high chances of a bunch of old chinook. But we're going to rig up a piece of coon shrimp. Because the steelhead are going to be the most spookiest fish in the water. Every hole that might have a steelhead in it, I'm going to kind of target those steelhead, very finesse, a little piece of bait, a little coon shrimp, and then go from there into throwing, you know, bigger globs of eggs for salmon, twitch and jig spinners, you name it. So I'm going to start out with a very small presentation, probably like coon shrimp or a little spawn sack or something in all these holes first. Just to see if I can pull out a steelhead, because you don't want to go into these holes, you know, throwing a twitch and jig or a big spinner right away, because a lot of times if there's steelhead in there, that's just going to push them out of the hole or spook them. And I definitely want to have a chance at a steelhead as well. So I'm going to get rigged up with a coon shrimp, and then I'll put you on the GoPro. All right, here we go. And you guys can tell now that once you're on the GoPro, you can actually tell that it's a little darker than it seemed. The other camera made it look like, you know, it was bright out here, but so I'm starting out shallower. I like to start out when I first, you know, approach the hole and take my first few drifts. I like to fish a little shallower than I think it is out there, just because I don't want to get snagged up. You know, a lot of people are like, why do you start so shallow if you know the hole's, you know, 6 feet deep or 8 feet deep or whatever it is? But it's because sometimes, especially in the morning, the fish can be more aggressive, they can be suspended, so sometimes they will, you know, come up and grab a bait. But also, just in case there's a rock or a stick or something in there that I'm not aware of, or if I've never fished the hole before, I start shallower, because the last thing I want to do is throw in there, get snagged up on the first couple casts, and then be ripping on my rod trying to get unsnagged. And that's just going to spook everything. So I always start a little shallower than I think the hole is, and slowly start to deepen up as I make some drifts through. Alright guys, heading back down river a little bit here, and you can see you got this little seam line that sticks in the way that kind of dumps in, makes this nice little current seam right in here, and you can see some little dark spots in there. Those are fish. I'm really trying to avoid spawning fish or dark chinook, trying to find more coho or steelhead, but it's hard to tell. I saw a couple moving around in there pretty good, so I'm going to throw a spinner in there a couple times just to see. And yeah, really trying to find a you know, brighter coho and steelhead, and not mess around with these dark chinooks that are trying to spawn too bad. Put on this little spawn bag here. So hard to get a good drift here. So much of this inside black water. fish. That is a fish. Fish on. Fish on. I didn't think it was a fish. I think it's a steelhead. Either a steelhead or a coho. That is a nice fish, you guys. I did not think that was a fish. It just kind of laid over. It was not very dark of a fish. But it just kind of laid over in there, and so I was like, oh yeah, it's just bottom, just picked up on it. Fighting like a coho, to be honest. It didn't look very dark at all, maybe a little colored up, but man, he is whooping me on this pin. Running pretty light leader because this water is so clear. I haven't even got a good look at him. Oh, he's chrome. That might be a coho, you guys. Either that or a really nice steelhead. Just saw a flash of chrome in there. Just gonna take him real easy. The key is just to let them wear out. You know, I'm using light gear, a center pin rod with pretty light line. And yeah, the key is just to let him wear himself out. This fish is fighting though. It's chrome, which makes you think it's either a really nice coho or a really nice steelhead. If it was a Chinook, I'd expect it to be pretty dark. But if it's a chrome Chinook, I'll take that too. That's a steelhead. Yeah, that's a nice steelhead. That is a nice steelhead, you guys. That's what it is. It is tearing me up for a steelhead, man. Cannot get a grip on her either. Oh, there we go. It's a nice steelhead. Man, that fish whooped me for being a steelhead. It looks like a buck, but fairly bright, so I'm actually going to bonk this fish, because why not? Hatchery fish. Got her right in the corner, buried that hook. Nice. Alright, moved holes down here at a different spot. The other one got that nice steelhead, as you guys saw, which I haven't bonked a steelhead in a while. I've been releasing a lot of them because they do get colored up. That one still was decently chrome, and I want to smoke some fish, so went ahead and bonked that one. Definitely thought it was a coho. I saw the flash and I thought, man, the only thing I'd have from chrome like that would be a coho. I saw like the pink blushed up and thought it was, you know, blushed up coho. And kicked my butt, that's for sure, but definitely a nice little steelhead, and one for the smoker, like I said. So now came up here. I did actually have another bobber down as well down there, and it came off. I just bobber down, set the hook, had it for a second, and it came off. Hopefully that was just an old Chinook, but it's probably a nice chrome coho or steelhead. So anyway, came to a different hole here, so we're gonna give it a shot. All right, guys, so I got another fish on here. I was just working my way down the river, letting the GoPro charge up because the battery was almost dead, and hooked into a, looks like another steelhead. Feisty little guy. Nice. Man, these steelhead, tell you what, they may be in the river for a little bit, colored up, but these things will give you a fun fight, especially on light gear. I'm running 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, the 6 to 10-pound center pin, and these fish will fight you pretty good. There we go, steer in. It's a little hen. Nice. Looks like a little hen summer run. Sweet. Alright guys, so that one came on the same bobber setup, just a cluster incognito bead. These things work good when you don't have a lot of bait. You know, I was fishing that little spawn sack earlier when I caught that other one, but there's another one. Oh my gosh. No way. Fish on. Next cast. There's a pile of them. There's just a pile of steelhead in here, guys. That's literally the next cast. And if I keep this one, that's 3 steelhead, and that's my limit. The only reason I kept that one is because it's a hen. It's a small fish, just over 20 inches, but it's got a little bit of eggs. I'm very low on eggs. This one might be a hen as well. I can't tell. If this one's a buck, I'll let it go, but this one looks like a hen. I'll keep it. But these fish are fun on the center pin, and this one did, the other one I didn't get the hook set on video, but this one did the same thing that last one did. As soon as I hooked it, just come cartwheeling out of the water. The other one dogged me in the current a little better. This one's staying right in here. Same exact bead I just showed you. That is another hen. All right, that's my 3rd steelhead right there. Little hen. Oh, actually that might be a buck. But there it is. Incognito cluster again. Getting it done. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. It ended up being an excellent day out on the water. Started out kind of looking for, you know, coho or steelhead. Ended up finding a good amount of steelhead out there. Hooked probably 5 or 6 steelhead, landed those 3. And that first one came off a spawn sack. And what I found is I started out kind of fishing coon shrimp because summer steelhead love shrimp. All steelhead really do. But what I found is that as I fished a little bit, the steelhead were sitting in these riffles and in these little runs behind spawning salmon. And so I quickly put a spawn sack on, threw behind. There's actually some spawning salmon in the tail out above, and then kind of a little riffle down, if you will. And threw the spawn sack in there, bang, steelhead on. So they will sit behind these spawning, you know, Chinook and coho. The summer steelhead that have been in there for a while, they get really trouty, and then as the winter steelhead come in, they will do the same thing behind coho and other steelhead. As they start to spawn, they'll sit down below them and eat these eggs that are coming out. All these fish, when I cleaned them, sliced the bellies, they were spitting up eggs. There's little single eggs in there from them in their stomach. So they were actually eating these salmon eggs. So got that first one on the spawn sack, and then just out of ease of fishing, I quickly went to a bead. Now the bead I threw that day was this incognito cluster, and these are killer. I don't know what color this is. It might be a little bit of like a one-off that he did, that he kind of sent me. I don't know, because every once in a while he'll send me some extra beads when I order some. Great guy, Lured by the Bead, Randy Bales. And this might be one of the ones he sent me. It's like a lighter pink, almost see-through, with a little pink bead in the middle of it. And I've ordered some more since then that were close to this color, but I actually haven't been able to find any that are exactly that color. So I don't know what it's called. But Lured by the Bead, link down below, makes the best bead on the market by far. I know there's some great ones out there, and I use those too sometimes, but these incognito beads and clusters are the deal. So that's what I ended up getting those last two fish on, was that cluster bead. So in this scenario, the water was really low, really clear, so I downsized everything. I was running like 6 and 8 pound fluorocarbon on a center pin rod, which is rated 6 to 10 pounds, so real light noodly rod. I can control the drag really good with the center pin. Obviously I'm in control, so I know exactly how much pressure to put on these fish, so I can use that light line noodly rod. I was using little tiny fixed floats like they use over in Midwest. And so you've got to adapt to these conditions. Steelhead fishing is a lot easier than people think. The main thing is finding where the fish are going to be at, being in the right place at the right time where the fish are, and then getting something in front of their face. And a lot of times that can be, a worm, a jig, a bead, a spawn sack, shrimp, whatever it may be. A lot of times it's just finding the fish and getting something in front of their face, or finding out like a pattern. Like I said, these fish were sitting behind spawning salmon, eating salmon eggs, so I obviously want to imitate that, little clusters of eggs. So steelhead fishing can be way easier than a lot of people think it is. It obviously just takes time figuring out what rivers to fish and when to be there. But once you figure that out, dial in what the fish are keying in on certain rivers at certain times, and it can be very, very deadly effective, very easy to catch steelhead. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Hopefully you all having a wonderful day.